So Swerve Strickland against Nick Wayne, non-title match, and Nick Wayne has told the Patriarchy to stay in the back, and they did throughout the duration of the match. Swerve has a bandage over his eye from last week's cut, which they did replay and was just as hideous as last week. I mean, like literally turning on a tap and watching.
Maybe that's what they saved up to pour on Malachi Black this week.
It was comparable. So Wayne gets whipped with a belt on the floor, and this crowd is just chanting one more time. Wayne then runs the eye into the buckle, and this is where Swerve starts checking on the cut, and he ends up getting kind of rocked from, and his vision is impaired here as he's just flying all over the place. Wayne is just hitting him with jabs as a result of this, going after the eye when he hits a back suplex on the edge, and then Swerve comes back and hits the Swerve Stomp off the apron to the floor. Wayne rolls into a code red after some kicks, goes for his own house call, which is caught, and a backbreaker by Swerve into a power slam, and he says, "I'm sorry," and hits the house call to win in 8 minutes and 55 seconds.
It was almost like one of those sort of like mocking "I'm sorries," I guess, for invading your home and attacking you with memories of
your father's photo.
Yeah. I like the match. This was not the type of 50-50 match that I think these two probably have had or will have in the future, where you got to see both of them at their best. This was more of like a go-home show storyline type of match where that was right for the occasion. It was there to make Swerve look strong. And I think I sent some effort in Swerve trying to answer criticisms of his losing his edge since turning babyface. I thought you got
last week, it's been very evident he has shifted that. It's very, very noticeable.
You got to see, even just in this match, a much more sadistic side of him in trying to like attack Wayne in the exposed turnbuckle. We'll go on to talk about, but the concerto to Christian on the chair, and then continuing to flash that like horror movie villain grin that he had throughout that heel run that we all loved so much. It's just a reminder that like when somebody turns babyface, they don't have to lose all those things. We loved you because you were doing all that like sick shit, and he's slowly at least reintroducing a lot of those into this babyface persona.
It's time for him to break into some more homes,
and we'll cheer him all the more for it, as long as he's breaking into the homes of people we don't like.
Yeah, leaves t-shirts. It's like, listen, you guys allow Santa Claus in every year to do the same thing. Am I any different? So Killswitch jumps him from behind as Christian and Mother Wayne come down, and Swerve manages to low blow Killswitch, dumping him to the floor while Cage has his back turned. So he chases Cage, and on the way around the ring manages a house call onto Killswitch, but just keeps going, and they run backstage. Cage takes over a vehicle and goes to drive out when another car comes and blocks him from getting out of the parking lot, and it's Prince Nana, who is he's been on stakeout for this whole match, and there he is with his coffee and blocks Christian, and there was a huge pop for the return of Prince Nana. A lot of people making their drive back to television tonight.
That is correct. Bakersfield, I guess, a popular destination for at least the roster. I love the way that they shot all this, by the way. Everything was like done in one take, and like just the coordination that's required with these cars to, having to kind of get in the way. The camera person, having to move from the scene directly into this car to grab this wonderful shot of like Nana revealing himself. Everything was actually done really well.
Yeah, it's a great point that they did this so seamlessly. And Swerve drags Cage out of the car and rams him into a production truck. And Cage, trying to escape, decides to climb onto the car. Where he was going, I can't tell you, but Swerve stops him, and Nana hands him a chair, and he goes to deliver a concerto to Cage, who avoids it, and he was laid out on the hood and then ran off. I thought this was a pretty good angle to send you into the pay-per-view. This does not feel like the main event of your pay-per-view, but I think like each week's angle, I think, has been satisfactory. I think that they've done what you can with kind of I don't want to say a lame duck challenger in Christian, but I don't think anyone is suspecting a title change here. That's always a tough role with a new champion that you're establishing. That Christian has filled this role really well for the month they've had to build this up.
I don't think it was ever going to feel truly like the main event against an Anarchy in the Arena match. You know, with the Elite, who at this point are like they're in a storyline where they've taken over the entire show. It was really hard, I think, for a Swerve match against Christian to feel like that. Christian just like isn't this type of serious like world champion threat that I think others have been in the past. But given like I think their characters and the history between the characters and the TV time that they've had, I think they've done a good job of elevating interest. And like what this is more of a continued test to see how Swerve fits in this world champion role. And some controversy, or at least some criticism maybe for some of those early weeks, especially the first week where he didn't do a promo on that first edition of Dynamite, and Tony ending up saying that they were saving it for that edition of Collision coming off of the NBA. Anyway, this is all to say, I think Swerve's like starting to continue to really find himself as a babyface, and this is like a good, almost like continued trial for him in this championship role. I hope next month, though, after Double or Nothing, is when we get into like the really juicy feuds. Next month for what's the pay-per-view next month?
It's Forbidden Door. It's a tough one, right? Like they're gonna have this. They're gonna do this casino gauntlet next week, and they're pushing like international talent will be in this thing, and like you might get like it could be like a program you can extend beyond, but it also could just be a one-off if you're taking somebody from the New Japan side.
It needs to be New Japan talent that he's defending against, doesn't it?
It does not need to be Hiroshi Tanahashi, okay? It cannot be Hiroshi Tanahashi.
And nor does it need to be Evil or...
I don't think they'd sacrifice Evil to just... Like, this is someone that... It's like New Japan is just going to give you, like, an adequate enough challenger that they're willing to sacrifice a loss to.
So who are the options? I'm curious.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, who is at the level that I think would be satisfying for a Swerve match? Shingo, okay. Now that's also not a main event. So like, do you expect Swerve to main event for Forbidden Door? And if he is going to main event, who are the likely candidates?
I'm going to say given the fact that you have Ospreay and Okada, I feel they're going to put one of like their big matches involving non-champions, and that could be. Like you would have Danielson on this show as well. None of those names I suspect being paired with Swerve. So I would say the possibility of him not headlining is a very real possibility.
And that's pretty dangerous for the perception of a new champion like Swerve. 2 pay-per-views in a row where he might not be main eventing. Now they might actually main event him for this upcoming Double or Nothing, card.
I don't throw out the idea. Like they're promoting this as like a triple main event, and while I'd say the percentages are low, I don't think there's zero that Swerve or the Willow match would go on last.
But there's a big difference between the match that ends the show and the match that sells the show. When we're talking about the match that sells
there's no question on what the main event is being sold as. Like that is very clear. Just what goes on last, I don't throw 0% chance that any of the other two are put there. Let's put it this way: where would you imagine this Swerve match is placed on the card?
Second from top.
Second from the top. Do you go with your 3 matches as in a row to end the show?
Can you remind me? Has Anarchy in the Arena closed every instance of
it didn't? It didn't the first year.
First year, Stadium Stampede, of course.
Let's go back here then. Okay, so the first
like if Swerve isn't
2020, they ended with the first Stadium Stampede.
So while you look it up, I'll just say if Swerve doesn't main event Forbidden Door, he should main event Double or Nothing. And this is just again for the perception of being able to say we're headlining the show with our champion. He is somebody that we believe in, and he's somebody that you should believe in and take seriously.
2022, it was the first Anarchy in the Arena, and that was third from the top, followed by a 3-way tag title match, and they had Punk and Hangman headline that show. That was the infamous Vegas show. And then last year, as I look here, Anarchy in the Arena headlined last year.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't have to finish with it. I think like AEW audiences will be there for Swerve versus Cage as the final match. Mercedes, in the final spot is possible as well, but I would actually prefer Swerve versus Cage over that one if it's between those two.
I think it's pretty clear you should probably close with Anarchy in the arena, but I mean, sometimes they put people in those positions to try and have to follow something like really, really, that is going to be take the crowd up so high, and those are those positions for some of your champions that have to follow those.
We should also mention this seems to confirm, at least for now, that Prince Nana is staying with Swerve Strickland. He's not sticking with the Mogul Embassy instead, and I think that's a really good call if that is the continued sort of relationship. Like Nana adds something to Swerve. These past few weeks where Swerve's just kind of coming out by himself, even though like he's a clear babyface, and Nana at this point is still kind of like ambiguous. When we're talking about presentation, we're talking about like the dance and everything. Like Nana does add so much to the presentation. So I hope this means Nana has also turned babyface and that they are able to stay together as a unit.